Hello everyone. Something that's come up a lot recently is how to edit sound with children, or wavetable editing and multi-track editing, and good ways to do that. So today's video is about the Windows and Mac program Audacity. Hi guys, if we're just meeting, I'm Anthony and this is EdTechMusic, where we look at delivering curriculum music with more engagement and fun through technology. So before we look at Audacity, let's look at wavetables, because that sounds a little bit scary. Well, wavetables look like this, and actually it's just a way to represent sound scientifically, with the line that goes up and down very quickly. And that's great because we can teach children to identify loud and quiet parts in music very visually. So Audacity is a free sound recorder and editor. It's open source, meaning anybody can work on it and make it better, and it's available for PC, Mac and Linux. It has a range of built-in tools and effects and lots of plugins that can be added to it that are developed by its community. I'm going to be looking at all the different ways you can use it to teach music. There are several ways to get Audacity. The first one is from its website audacityteam.org, where you click on Download Audacity, and then from the page that comes up, choose the first download link here, which takes you to a second site where on that page there's a download link here underneath the advertisement. Clicking on that will then download Audacity, where you can install it. Because Audacity is open source and lots of people work on it, there's now a second way to get at Audacity if you're working on a PC. Here on Windows 10 in the store, there's an app called Audio Tonic, which is the same as Audacity but developed specifically to be used through the Windows Store. This is an alternative way to get to it and means that your updates happen through the store automatically rather than needing to download new versions. Once you open Audacity, it will look like this. Let's get to know the workspace a little better. So this large grey area in the middle is where your tracks are going to be recorded, where you can edit them. There's a timeline along the top here, like most audio programs. In the top left corner you have the transport controls here that include pause, play, stop, jump to start and jump further forward to end, and then record as well. And when you're recording you can use the pause control rather than having to stop to record and then pause and then carry on. Other controls are here. There's these 6 tools here that are worth getting to know. First of all, you have the select tool that we're going to be using a lot, zoom tool, time shift tool and multi-tool, and we'll get to know these a little bit through this in the coming videos. Then on top of that you've got some record level here that you can see when we start recording this will move, and then up here you've also got the playback level to keep an eye on too. And then here you have both the record volume and then the playback volume, and if the recording seems to be too loud then you can adjust this incoming record volume down slightly if need be. Underneath that, there are several drop-down options here. Let's look at what these do. So this one here chooses what microphone you're recording. If when you record you don't hear anything, the first thing to check is that in this drop-down list you've chosen your microphone. So you'll have things like microphone that maybe is joined to your webcam. You'll also have any extra microphones you've plugged in. So I'm using this Samsung Meteor mic. You can choose mono or stereo, depending on what your microphone allows. Most USB microphones are stereo, and then you can choose which speakers you're going to hear the sound back out of as well. So again, if you record sound but then you can't hear it, checking these 2 things is really important. So let's have a quick go at recording. When I hit the record button in the transport control up here, immediately it pulls up this new row of information where I have mute and solo, as well as a drop down where I can name this track and choose other information about it if I need to. It'll also tell me some information about the rate I'm recording at and the type of track being recorded. And you can see my voice being captured here as this wavetable sound, which will extend along as far as I choose like recording. So let me now stop it, and here you can see all this sound has been captured. I can click anywhere and press play. Information about it if I need to. It'll also tell me some information and stop and move around in it, and if I press the space bar, you can see I can start and stop in the same way. The scroll bar along the bottom is a quick way to move around in my track. Now that I have this, these zoom controls here to zoom in and zoom out are really useful, as well as the fit selection to width and fit project to width tools here, which are very much like you see in anything like Word, where you want to be able to zoom in and out on a document to see things better. So here I can zoom in to see more fine control of the track, or zoom out if I want to see more of the track but in less detail. If I want to edit this track, it's easily done. So I'm going to choose, first of all, the selection tool from up here, grab the part of the audio that I don't want, and then I can go to Edit and choose things like Cut, Delete, Copy, or Paste, or if I just use the keyboard, I can press Delete and that part disappears as well. In this way, it's very easy to take away parts at the beginning or end of a track that I don't want, or gaps in the middle that don't add to what I'm doing. By selecting any part of my track and then going to the Effect menu, I then have a range of built-in tools that can have all sorts of effects on the audio that I've recorded. However, today is very much around what can I do in the classroom to teach music. So the first thing we can do on Audacity is record performances. All we would need to do is hit record, and as we've said, we can record what they're playing as they're playing it. Now, if we wanted to record something that had an accompaniment to it, that maybe was a backing track, then the way we would do that is, here's my MP3 file. So we can use lots of different file types. I'm just going to grab this MP3 file and drag it straight onto Audacity. And you can see now that it's straight away put this track into here. And if I go to the beginning and play it, so there we go. Now the track is already there, ready to play. Let's just fold this up a little bit. You can see I'm compacting everything. I can still see what I need to. And then I'm going to go to Tracks and add a new stereo track from this menu. And here we get this completely new track. So let me rewind again. And now I can record a group singing, a choir, a soloist through the microphone, and if I've set it up right, then for myself, I'm hearing through the headphones, so I'll hear this track in my headphones and I can record myself singing here. So now you can see I have my own recording of my voice here that could be a soloist or a choir against the backing track, and all I need to do now is look at whether one is loud enough compared to the other. So by rewinding and then playing them back, I can then adjust the volume here of this track or the volume here of this track until the balance is correct. Once I have a file in Audacity, I can go to File and choose Save Project to save this project in Audacity so that I can open it again and edit it. And afterwards, when I'm happy with it, I could go to Export, and I could either save it as something like a WAV file, which means that it's a fairly lossless format, it keeps all its detail, or as something like an MP3, which we're used to working with a lot because they're much smaller files in the end. The next thing we could consider recording is body percussion. So a few weeks ago, I did a video on using body percussion when we can't sing with pupils. Here's the PowerPoint from that and the associated pictures that I took. You could access that from my channel. And here in OneNote is an example of a graphics score that we could use. So here's one with digital inked drawing on it, and another one with the basics of notation, and then perhaps a way to start using body percussion. Once we have this sort of vocabulary worked out with students, then we could record this in Audacity as well. Because you can record multiple layers of sound, you can build up group performances with one musician repeatedly or lots of pupils playing their parts at different times. Again, once you've recorded one track, let's just take out the part we don't want by deleting that. And then we can next of all go to Track, Add New stereo track, because it's a stereo microphone, remember, and at this point start recording the next layer. Immediately something we realise is that this can be really tricky to get everyone playing at the same speed. So you could use the first person's recording as the pace setting for the rest of the track, or something you can do when you start a new track is to go to Generate and then at this point add in a rhythm track. And this would be what you would consider a click track. So here is the speed we want, beats per minute, and the number of beats in a bar, and then some other settings that you can use, but actually at this point you can just hit OK, and now we've got what amounts to a click track. So if I then play this, you can see you've created a click track that you can use for your recording, and then once you no longer lead it, you can either mute it or click the X to delete it completely. Well, let's go down to the beach for this week's Teacher Reads. Okay, so we're down on the beach on Sunday morning, and I wanted to come down here. First of all, it's my run, but this is a good point to introduce to you today's book, which is The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Rogers. Now, it's early December, and I haven't done this since late October. And that's the point of this, that in the autumn term at least, teachers forget to look after themselves and other priorities take over. So we're going to go home and have a look at what lessons there are to be learnt from the Chimp Paradox. So the book is based on the idea that your psychological mind is based on three different parts. And as an analogy, it talks about the human, that is the part of you that is logical and the person you wish to be, about the chimp, that is emotional and responsive and can take control if not well managed, and about the computer, which is where you store all your long-term memories and experiences and draw on to make decisions the rest of the time. Now, the book makes lots of good points and ideas, but I'm going to draw on four that I think are particularly useful to teaching. So it talks about, first of all, how to look after yourself personally and professionally. And the first idea is about maintaining a sense of self with your interests and hobbies outside the classroom. So it talks about happiness being more than being at ease with yourself, it's about being at ease with others. He says, how can you determine who you really are? To work out who you really are as a person is easy to do. If you write a list of all the things you would like to be, you may write things like calm, compassionate, reasonable, positive, confident, happy, and that is who you really are. Any deviation from this is a hijacking by the chimp. And secondly, how to find a balance between your work and family and friends. And it talks about the right part of the jungle is where your work and home environments are happy places to be. So as it says in this quote, it's about knowing who your troop really are and not working to satisfy those that aren't actually your troop when to the expense of those that are. Now, thirdly, not overthinking issues and conversations. And this can be really tricky, I think, in education. It talks about how many times have you talked to yourself, reassured yourself, or had battles within your own head. And I think this is really key. Within the hustle and bustle of education, it's very, very easy to misinterpret people, to overthink things, and to get carried away and let your chimp take control. So a big lesson in the book is about how to manage that chimp to not do that. And my last part of this is, as it says, staying in control, getting ahead of issues to plan well, build those mental models. It says, what can you do practically to alter things, and what things do you have to accept to work with? And I think this is particularly true, and I'll pick up on mental models in the future, because I think this is how experienced teachers can make things look really easy. It's because they've lived through all the different possible outcomes from each different situation in the classroom. So inexperienced teachers can gain this type of experience by thinking through their mental model of what will happen in this situation if this happens. What will I do if that happens? What will I do if that happens? And so thinking through and building those mental models of what will happen in different situations and how you might react is how you can gain that understanding that experienced teachers have. As I say, the book has lots and lots of different ideas about how to manage that emotional, volatile part of yourself that he calls the chimp in the analogy. And I think it's definitely worth a read. I'll link to it down in the description below, but these are my 4 points that I think are really useful for teachers. So that's my first batch of ways that you can use Audacity to teach music. Now, there are so many, I feel like there's going to be a follow-up video in not very long as well. If you've got value out of this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing as well. And there's some other videos on screen right now that hopefully you'll find useful as well. As always, thanks for watching.